And welcome back, everybody. I'm so excited. I know football is dominating the conversation, but we're going to talk some golf. Thank goodness. And no person better than Rick Gehman, a gentleman I've had a lot of pleasure working with at CBS Sports HQ, the 24/7 digital channel. And Rick is the best analytics guru in the game. And he breaks it down. And if you go fantasy golf or you gamble, and people say golf is the best sport to gamble on because you can gamble on every shot. Rick breaks it down. It's rickrungood.com, and I urge you to go to that because Rick really does. I mean, he breaks it down. Listen, well, first off, Rick, welcome in. It's great to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, Doug. Yeah, thank you very much. It's always good when you and I get to catch up. And as I know, football is cash cow for everybody right now. I can see that golf season peeking its head over the horizon. We're getting there.
Yeah, that's why I love the Hero World Challenge because it's always beautiful at the Bahamas. And it's kind of a made-for-TV Tiger deal. It's been going on for 20 years. He invites 20 of his friends, basically, and he's not playing this year. But I wanted to ask you first and foremost, I mean, listen, he shows up today, looks fantastic as always. He's been working out in the gym, did have the surgery, I think, 3 months ago to clean up some nerve problems with his back. It was kind of cool, Rick. He hugged Steve DeMeglio walking in the presser, a gentleman we know, longtime golf writer who struggled with cancer for a long time. That was kind of a poignant moment. But then he sat down, Rick, and there wasn't a lot of conversation about him and his game because, as he said right out of the outset, I can't play right now. I'm just not good enough to compete with these guys, the top 20 out here in this tournament.
Yeah, it's been kind of this vicious cycle for Tiger, right? He hates teeing it up if he doesn't feel like he can compete or have a chance to actually win, which takes a ton of grind, a ton of practice. You've got to be playing a lot of golf to get into that form, and then the body starts to, have flare-ups, and it starts to he described the pain that was shooting down his leg that he took care of with a procedure in September. So now it's back to rehab, and it's just kind of this vicious cycle, Doug, where he can't seem to get out of it, can't seem to stay relatively healthy for a period of time that allows him to compete at the level that he wants to compete at.
And Rick, he got out of the golf cart. We saw that today on golf, and he has that pronounced limp. And he even admitted that's not going away. He said he described, he goes, listen, I still walk funny. I think he will play probably in a couple of weeks. He intimated maybe with his son Charlie in the PNC father-son. It's a 3-day deal. He can ride in a cart. Charlie can hit most of the drives, etc. But Rick, what do you think? I mean, as we head into 2025, and here's the GOAT who turns 49 at the end of this month. Can he be competitive again, or are we asking too much?
I believe we're asking too much. And, you look at even the relative small samplings that we've gotten of Tiger in the last couple of years. He hasn't really been competitive at any point in the last few years, and the game's not getting any easier. These kids, I mean, we've got a handful of early 20s kids in this Hero World Challenge field. They are getting better. They are coming, and they're not stopping anytime soon. I think we are a long way away from – remember when Tiger said he was going to play once a month in 2024? We got nowhere close to that. I think that, unfortunately, Tiger is more of a ceremonial golfer at this point. I hate to say it, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's the case.
Yeah, as you break it down, and obviously rickrungood.com, I mean, the analytics are there. I mean, and the proof is in the numbers, right? He's not even remotely close with the irons. Used to be the best by far in the world. And putting, his putting numbers have just diminished, I mean, really pretty drastically, Rick, over the last few years.
Yeah, I have, I have player profiles for every single golfer, and lots of green squares. Those are good. Lots of red squares. Those are bad. If you pull up Tiger's profile, it's a lot of red squares. And you're right, Doug. It's the second shot, the approach play, in which he used to gain about a stroke per round, which is an elite level of golf on the PGA Tour. He's now about losing a stroke per round. Wow. The putter, the magic flat stick that we've seen, that magic Scotty, that is gone. We've seen him struggle with around the green play, and these are things that really the experience, the rust, it shows through with him probably being unable to practice as much as he would like. Yeah, so the statistical profile alone, if you remove the name Tiger Woods from that page, you'd be pretty hard pressed to find anything positive.
And Rick, yet he's in the middle of these negotiations with Piff, and he talked about that. Listen, a couple of questions about his game, and then the rest of the 45 minutes was strictly about the state of the game. And he's the elder statesman. He is the spokesperson now. I know Rory took that mantle a couple of years ago, but Tiger's now answering all those questions, Rick. And it seems to me that he's taking pride in the fact that he's right in the middle of these negotiations. Granted, his company, I think, is going to benefit from a lot of these TV contracts, et cetera. But I mean, he's right in the middle of things.
Yeah, it's interesting because he is now really the spokesman. I think that's a great point, Doug, that you bring up. But he has always been the voice that a lot of other guys have followed. And if you remember back to when there was really a couple of years ago when guys were deciding, hey, I'm going to go to Live, I'm going to stay here at the PGA Tour. A lot of them were saying, well, what does Tiger think about this? What does Tiger think we should do? What does Tiger think should happen? So the fact that he has a seat in those boardrooms now makes a ton of sense. But yeah, I mean, Tiger, the businessman, that's not going to stop anytime soon. He's got TGL coming up in January, which is going to be on ESPN, and it's going to be Mondays and Tuesday nights, and events like this. They go a long way. So, yeah, Tiger is, I think, fully engaged in the future of golf. He's probably going to have a pretty significant say in it.
All right, Rick, we'll get back to the hero, but one more question about that. You mentioned it. Tiger's deal in January. He and Rory are heavily involved. This indoor deal. They built this huge studio down in Palm Beach, or West Palm Beach, where Palm Beach Community College is. It's going to be fascinating. I mean, this huge simulator. How's this going to play out, Rick? I mean, it's going to obviously draw in a younger demo, right?
That's the goal. Yeah, I think it's targeted at somebody like me, somebody who kind of wants a quick 2-hour match with a lot of bells and whistles and stats and graphics and big television screens and big simulators and all that stuff. I think my dad's probably going to hate it, and that's fine. It's not for everybody. I think, Doug, the big thing for me is what's the tone going to be? I think this is kind of where Liv struggles. Liv demands to be taken very seriously, though they do some things that are unserious, like not allowing their captains to be relegated, things of that nature. I think TGL will fail if we are asked to take it as seriously as major championships and things of that nature, right? Like, it can just be cool, competitive fun on Mondays and Tuesday nights. That's okay. But that tone is going to be set, and I think that's going to be critical for their success.
Well, I'm going to test the waters the first couple of weeks, then I may be like your dad. I'm not sure I'm going to like this thing, but we'll see.
It's not going to be for everybody, I promise you that.
All right, let's talk about the hero. Scotty Scheffler comes in. Haven't seen Scotty since the Tour Championship. We know he's been practicing. That's what he does. Just a dominant, analytically, he's been dominant the last few years. Comes in as the favorite. Won it a year ago, Rick. I mean, obviously, he's the guy. You hate to bet on a guy who's plus 225. You're not going to make a lot of money, but, you got to go with the guy, right?
Yeah, this is really interesting. So if you're trying to decide whether I should bet on Scotty Scheffler at plus 220, plus 225, I think it comes a lot down to personal preference. If you are somebody who is going to bet golf or sports week in and week out, you really care about your return on investment, you're tracking all of this stuff, it's very difficult to bet a guy at this number. It implies he's going to win the golf tournament 33% of the time. He is an incredible golfer. It's a 20-person field with a lot of the best players in the world. It is still an outrageous clip for him to pull that off at. But if you're someone who, hey, I just like to, throw $20 on NFL games and watch those for fun. If I want something to root for on Sunday afternoon, the most likely scenario is that Scotty's going to be in it. He might not win. He's got 2 runner-up finishes here, but he is very, very likely to be part of that storyline late on Sunday. So if you're just a casual fan, I think it's fine to bet. If you're doing it more seriously, it's difficult. But to get back to your broader point, Doug, Scotty is in a tier by himself. It is not particularly close. He's the best player in the world. This field is probably weaker than we've seen in the last couple of years. Some notable absences of Colin Morikawa. Jordan Spieth has had some success, some failures at this event. He's out with an injury. We don't see Xander Schauffele here. Victor Hovland, who has won this event twice, he's not playing. So when you really look at this from a lot of angles, it's very likely that Scotty Scheffler is hoisting that Tiger trophy on Sunday.
Yeah, now I was reading on X, you posted maybe last week, a few days ago, last 12 no-cut events, Scotty has 5 wins, and nobody else has more than 1. I mean, he dominates these no-cut events.
And some of these are 60, 70, 80 person field. This is a 20. This is a 20 person field. And he does. And there's a reason for that. There's also a statistical I mean, when you guarantee the best players in the world more rounds, the cream rises to the top. If we played a 1,000-round tournament or a 1,000-hole tournament, Scottie Scheffler would win every single time. He just would. Now, if we played a one-hole tournament, I might beat Scotty sometimes, right? Maybe I get lucky, make a birdie. Maybe he hits one in the water, right? So the more holes you guarantee, the better for these golfers, and it really does bear out. Scotty over 4 rounds is very difficult to beat.
All right, Justin Thomas, I mean, listen, he and his wife had the baby a few weeks ago, so his life is changing. As we know, it will change as time goes on. But he's second behind Scotty right now, plus 800. But again, you only got 20 guys, right? Hasn't won in a long time, coming off a decent season, an improved season. I guess it's not a surprise he's number 2 on the odds list.
The only surprise is that he was basically a sponsor's invite, right? Like one of the last
right.
one of the last men in, and has the second shortest odds. You don't see that very often. But no, you're right, Doug. This is I'm actually quite bullish on Justin Thomas moving forward and into 2025, because I think the stat profile that we're seeing from him now and in the last couple of months looks like vintage Justin Thomas. Now that is not without some concerns. He is still, no matter what he does on the putting surfaces, he's tried different putters, he's tried different coaches, he's tried different thoughts. He cannot figure out a consistent way to get the ball in the hole on the putting surfaces. But what I see elsewhere is a guy who's probably going to be a 0 off the tee, maybe pick up a little bit there. He's back to being one of the elite second shot players in the world. And for my money, he might be the best around the green. He might have the best short game in the world. Him, Hideki, some other guys are certainly in the conversation. But that, to me, that's the profile that won Justin Thomas, a couple of major championships and a couple of 10 some odd, I don't know what he's up to, 13, right. 14 PGA Tour victories at this point. So I like what I see there. I think there is definitely room for him to have a lot of success, and this is a place that he's played well.
Yeah, and he's Tiger's buddy. Good karma there. Ludwig Aubert, the young Swede, I saw him at the RSM a few weeks ago, Rick. Played very poorly in the opening round. Hadn't played in a while, had the knee cleaned out. But then he came back with 3 really good rounds after that. And he looked more like himself. Obviously, the weather conditions were a factor in that opening round as well. What about the young Swede? Seemingly back on track and healthy. Young guy, when you're healthy, look out, right?
Yeah, indeed. I think some guys like to take a little bit of a vacation down to the Bahamas, and maybe they bring the family with them. But I think Ludwig is certainly eyeing a trophy. The only concern that I have here, and there's very little because he is phenomenal, is I'm not sure this golf course, Albany, really allows him to get into his strengths, right? I would love a long, tight golf course off the tee because he is so long, he is so accurate. This golf course can kind of make a fool of you sometimes around the greens. We've seen Sam Burns cough this tournament up late on Sunday, Colin Morikawa as well, because you're asked often in a state of rust, maybe not playing as much golf as you'd like with those grainy uphill Bermuda lies that you can get into around the greens. So I'm not sure this is the greatest place in the world for him. So for that reason, I'm probably just going to wait a little bit on Ludwig, but I could not be more excited about what 2025 looks like and the next 10 years, because he is legitimately, one of the best in the world.
Yeah, Daniel Chopra worked with him on PGA Live, another Swede, and he thinks this kid, he goes, he's going to be world number 1 in a short period of time. And I was like, okay, you're just like him because he's Swedish, right? And, no, he's legit. And I think we've seen that in a very short period of time, Rick.
He's special. He's really special. There were conversations. I kind of thought the same thing. I was hearing the rumors as he was coming out of college, how legit he is. And it's always like, yeah, there's always a couple of these guys every year
right.
we hear about. And sure enough, to win as quickly as he did, not only on the PGA Tour but on the DP World Tour, to find himself at a Ryder Cup, it truly is different, and it truly is special.
All right, so it sounds like you're leaning, obviously Scheffler the favorite for obvious reasons, leaning with JT maybe to come away with $1 million win?
Yeah, I think at the top of the board, there are some interesting guys farther down. I don't know if they can win, but one of my favorite wagers for the week is Robert McIntyre to finish inside the top 5. That's about 3.5 to 1 or 3 to 1. we're at that time of year, Doug. You know this. It's weird. Some guys haven't played since the Wyndham.
Right.
Robert McIntyre has played, I think, 5 or 6 times on the DP World Tour since his PGA Tour season ended. He's putting it together really strong stat profiles. So, the big dogs at the top, they're probably going to win. But like you said, golf provides a lot of options to go farther down the board, maybe find some top 5s, some top 10s. Remember, it's only a 20-person field.
Yeah, so it's exciting. One thought about coming up, I think December 17th, Liv versus the PGA Tour on Turner, and we'll see Koepka and DeChambeau and Scheffler and Rory. That has intrigued me, Rick. Some of these made-for-TV things have gotten old and a little stale, and I watch for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. This seems a little more compelling with what could potentially set up for the future. Agree?
Very much agree. Now, I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of these in person. A lot of them get held in Las Vegas.
Right.
So I've seen Bryson and Brooks go at it, and I've also seen the quarterbacks go at it. I've seen I think I'm done with the quarterbacks. Right?
Yeah.
They don't particularly play great golf. No. It's dangerous to stand out there.
Right.
I've seen the F1 guys pair up with Ricky Fowler. I've seen it all. Okay, this is what we want. Right, we want the best players in the world being put into a position to compete against one another, and whether the Live versus PGA stuff will be blown up for the marketing of this, I'm sure it will. But at the end of the day, Rory and Scotty don't want to lose to Bryson and Brooks, and
Exactly.
Bryson and Brooks do not want to lose to Rory and Scotty, and that is going to be enough. Nobody takes stuff like this more seriously than Bryson does. He's going to be out there grinding. Brooks doesn't want to be made to look a fool, and you've got Scotty and Rory on the other side who have plenty of fire as well. So I'm with you. This is really what we want to see, and I'm excited to. I hope it's tight. I hope it's competitive, and I don't need to hear jokes. I don't need Peyton Manning to quip. Just go play high level golf against one another, and I'm way in.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited Bryson finally got the hole-in-one over his house.
I was worried, what if this goes for months and he has to leave the country to go play a golf tournament? Do we just postpone it? I'm glad he finally accomplished it.
But that is funny, Rick, and we mentioned earlier in the conversation, you're trying to attract a younger audience, and Bryson has done that on that YouTube channel. I mean, it's something everybody, and I think Tiger intimated that today. They're trying to try some things on the PGA Tour to attract things, and look no further than what Bryson is doing. My goodness, the eyeballs on him is amazing.
He's done a phenomenal job. He's done a really good job of being fan-friendly, being fan-first, and I'm not sure that that's always been the case with a lot of decisions that have been made in professional golf as of late, and this is just another example of that. So anytime you get Bryson in front of a camera, able to do fun stuff, you see the demographics are much younger. That's good for the game. Let's take advantage of that, right? Let's lower the average age. All that stuff is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little goofy, but it's fun. And I do think golf it got to a point where it was just too serious. Even, we're playing the John Deere Classic. It's just too serious, right? I mean, that's my feeling, and I've been covering it for a long time. I like it's fresh when we have some, a guy like Bryson doing his thing.
Not everything has to be stuffy and serious and taken to the 100th degree. We can have a little fun out there, right? We can celebrate things. We can make cool highlights and do trick shots and just whatever it ends up being. I'm cool with. It might be a little bit goofy. It might not be for everybody, but that's okay. Enough of it is an overall net win for everybody.
All right, Rick. Well, we appreciate it, my friend. Hey, I saw you and your wife were traveling to Australia. I mean, you guys are all over the world, man. You played some golf there, right?
I did. It was the best. I negotiated rounds, Doug. So we did a couple different cities.
Good for you.
I got one round in every city. So I ended up playing 4 rounds out there, and it is just very different from the type of golf that we have in America. It was special.
I love the golf courses there. The wind is always a factor. The people are amazing. That had to fulfill a lifelong dream for you.
Well, I'll tell you what. They are sport crazy. They love sports. and they love golf. And they are such friendly people. And it was, I was lucky enough to get on a couple of really splendid places. Royal Melbourne, which has hosted obviously a ton of great events. And I played Royal Adelaide as well when we got down there. And, by the second hole, I had resorted to begging and pleading for my ball to stop rolling, right? Because the undulations and the way the greens work, and you can putt from 40 yards out and all that. It's just, you have to really think about what your ball's going to do when it lands and the way it's going to move. And that's not always something that I've got to consider here in the States, but the game is played on the ground over there, and it could not have been a better experience.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you and your beautiful wife. That had to be a great trip. And keep up the good work. I will see you hopefully as we move forward. I will be in Hawaii, Rick. So I'll maybe we'll be doing some CBS. I'll be out in Hawaii. Although the time change will be awful early if they have me on that morning show, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
so.
They would be asking you to wake up quite early for that. But I hope you enjoy the trip, and it's always good to see. I was telling you before we went hot, I love hearing your voice out there. I love seeing you in the background of shots. I always go, oh, there's Doug. And it's exciting to hear you'll be in Hawaii again.
And Rick, last thing I'll tell you is funny, and I didn't realize this, Rafa Campos on the 16th hole in Bermuda, and he's trying to get that win, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm the only guy behind the green in a red golf shirt, and I did not know. His caddy told him, and said, see the dude back there with a red shirt? Aim right at him. And he did. He hit on the green, and it led to a victory. So I'm glad I helped Rafa. I had no idea, but I was the only guy back there.
Well, what you have to do, Doug, is now you have to go position yourself at every line that these guys, because you could maybe get a cut. You should get your 1% from Rafa for that.
Yes, yeah, because that was a big win for him. And, yeah, I could use 1%. Absolutely.
Hey, Rick,
that's awesome. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug. Always fun.